really looking at, are you making decisions based on what you want and what's best for you? Or are you sort of navigating the day and trying to almost like walk on eggshells around other people, right? Kind of just thinking that you have in any capacity, any power over any person, place, or thing, that would be a sign. Are you trying to live a life that is so pleasing to others that, you think you have any bearing on how happy they are, right? Sort of that idea of, well, other people's happiness hinges on me. And my happiness hinges on other people. I think that relationship is off balance. That is a big sign that there's codependency there. And the other one, like I said, is just sort of like, do you know yourself? Have you gotten so wrapped up, for lack of...
You're listening to the First Class Life Show, hosted by Lindsey Vertner, a holistic personal development show for high-achieving leaders who desire to maximize their impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. So grab a drink, grab your notebook, and let's get started. Hey, First Class family. Welcome back to another episode of the First Class Life Show. I am your host, Lindsey Vertner, and I'm super excited for today's guest, Krystal Quagliara. She is a playfulness expert, and listen, we're going to hop right into the conversation because I know that you are an amazing, impactful leader out there trying to maximize your impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness, which means you don't have any time to waste, okay? So before we jump into the conversation, make sure you subscribe, share, like, comment, do all the things to help spread the word of this podcast because not everybody knows about us. I know, it's a travesty, but that's where you come in because sharing is caring, okay? Meanwhile, let's go ahead and hop into this conversation because I'm curious to know exactly what a playfulness expert is and everything that she had to overcome to even figure that out, okay? So welcome, Krystal. How are you?
Hi, Lindsey. I'm doing great today. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. You are officially a part of the First Class family now. So obviously I've been able to get to know you behind the scenes, but share with the First Class family, who is Krystal really? Like, who's the good tea, okay?
Oh boy. Well, Lindsey, I don't know how long your podcasts usually go for, but just cut me off if I'm talking too long. Yes. So I have been known as a playfulness expert, but it didn't start there. I am actually what I call myself a recovering codependent and a recovering perfectionist. So that is very loaded, but my main focus, what I do is really in the health and wellness realm, but it's holistic. So for me, going back to, just growing up, I had a lot of just family trauma and dysfunction, things in my family that created a lot of patterns and behaviors for me and how I reacted to certain situations, how I live my life, the expectations that I put on myself a lot of times were a reflection of how I thought other people expected me to act or what they expected me to do. So there was a long period of most of my life where I lived, like I say, I lived somebody else's life. Like I was in a movie, just sort of like going through the motions and living someone else's life. Able to make some good decisions along the way, but nonetheless, and had my own kind of battle and struggle with health. When I was a child, I was overweight. I fed my feelings, food was an escape for me. Moving into like adolescence, when I discovered boys and discovered that I was different than the other girls, found myself on the opposite side of that and really learned to control. That was when I think the sort of fix, managing, and controlling part of my codependent behavior really took over, because the thing that I could fix and manage and control was, my body, what I was eating, how much I was moving, all those things. And I really put a lot of self-worth in my outward appearance, and was getting a lot of validation from people. Wow, you're losing weight. Oh, you look so good. What are you doing? And all that just sort of fed into that. I went to college. Again, was sort of something that, I'm glad I did it looking back, but what I really would have loved to have done is just go to New York or LA or Chicago. I actually live outside Chicago, to be an actress and to pursue, a career in entertainment. I love to sing. I love to perform. But thought, no, that's a pipe dream, or eventually I'll get there. I got to go to school. I got to get a degree. I have to, check all these boxes and get this great job and all these things. And, Lindsey, I wish I could tell you that even following that path was successful for me, but it wasn't. When I went to school and graduated in 2008, when the economy took a big dip, and, didn't even get to use the degree that I graduated with, and just sort of ended up in a series of job after job, not really feeling fulfilled or valued. And a lot of that was on me. A lot of that was my inability to sort of create those boundaries and demand that people value me for who I was and what I brought to the table. So I got into a recovery program about 5 years ago now. And, that's kind of when things really shifted for me. I was at a bottom. I had seemingly, conquered health. I was, obviously I didn't have an eating disorder any longer. I was much healthier in an outward sort of way. Luckily, I don't know how I attracted the most wonderful man to marry, but I did. And I was in a great marriage. But however, a lot of that stress of me not really living this life that I felt fulfilled in was putting a lot of stress on that marriage. I was crying in my car or stopping on the front porch to sort of compose myself before I came in the house, because I didn't want my husband to see how unhappy I was, because it wasn't a reflection of our relationship. It was, sort of all these choices that I had made and put myself in this situation. So, recovery had really helped me to take some personal responsibility and say, okay, like, I'm aware there's a problem. I've got to accept this. I got this here. I got here by a series of choices that I have made, and a series of choices that other people made. And I have no control over that either. So just going forward, taking action, learning how to meditate, learning how to journal, how to practice gratitude, all those things that then became part of how I approach health. Before it was very much just personal training and this is how we eat, this is how we move, and that last component of it was really missing for me. And so I make sure that now with my clients that is almost the most important aspect of the work that we do together.
Awesome. So I'm going to pause you because you said that you were aware and you recognize how your behaviors created the life you're living. We're going to come back to that whole theme right there because, as y'all know, like, I'm all about mindset and how our things from our past control our current behaviors and how we show up or don't show up in life. So that's very important that you touched on that. But before we get into that, you mentioned recovering codependent and recovering perfectionist. And I'm sure a lot of leaders listening to this show right now can relate to one or both of those. So let's talk about the codependency. How does one know if they are codependent? Like, what are some signs of being codependent?
Yes, I think it often shows up as people pleasing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the first sign. And, really looking at, are you making decisions based on what you want and what's best for you? Or are you sort of navigating the day and trying to almost like walk on eggshells around other people, right? Kind of just thinking that you have in any capacity, any power over any person, place, or thing. That that would be a sign. Are you trying to live a life that is so pleasing to others that, you think you have any bearing on how happy they are, right? Sort of that idea of, well, other people's happiness hinges on me, and my happiness hinges on other people. I think that relationship is off balance. That is a big sign that there's codependency there. And the other one, like I said, is just sort of like, do you know yourself? Have you gotten so wrapped up, for lack of a better term, in sort of creating those situations where you feel like everybody else is dependent on you for their happiness, for their smooth day, for, and this could be at work even, doesn't have to be with, interpersonal relationships, but, are you constantly people pleasing around your boss, your colleagues, all these things? And have you lost a sense of who you are, what you want, where you're going, all those things?
Hey, I know it can be exhausting blazing the trail and creating a legacy. And you're at the point in your life where you desire peace and rest. You want to enjoy both the physical freedom and financial freedom to live life on your terms. You understand the importance of prioritizing your self-care. And you know that you're worthy of transformational experiences surrounded by other high-achieving, goal-oriented women just like you. That's why you deserve to be treated like VIP at the First Class Life Luxury Self-Care Retreat for Women. You deserve to show up and just be you, away from the titles and roles that keep you busy from day to day. You deserve the luxury to fully unplug. It's time for you to embrace your first class life. Visit firstclassliferetreats.com to secure your VIP spot today, because you deserve it. Yeah, that is so true. I like that you said like other people's happiness was based on you and vice versa. Your happiness was based on other people, because a key point is that we are in charge of our own happiness. Like, we can't make someone mad. We can't make someone happy. That is an inner choice that we all individually have to make. And so if your happiness is based on their happiness, but you can't control whether you make them happy, then it becomes this toxic cycle.
Amen, Lindsey.
So what were some of the impacts that codependency had on your self-worth?
That's a big one. I think, of course, there are those moments where you realize, like, I'm totally powerless in this situation. I'm failing. You often feel a failure because you say, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I think I'm saying all the right things. I'm constantly showing up for this person and not being appreciated. Like, why aren't they happy? What am I doing wrong? That's sort of where, I often took it. And it was very damaging to my self-worth, because my self-worth was wrapped up in how I was able to make other people feel. And, until I realized that, like you said, I had no control over that. That was a personal choice for them, just as it was for me. That was sort of the pivotal moment.
So if someone out there listening that has just heard this and they're like, you know what? I think I might be in a codependent relationship, with a partner, a client, an employer, a relative. Like, it can literally be anyone, a best friend, your dog Bobo. So if someone is like, I think I may be in a codependent relationship, what are some ways that they could get over and overcome that codependency?
It really is a lifelong process. It's, unfortunately, just like our health and wellness, it's not something that you're going to work on for a day or a week and say, oh, I'm cured of all of my codependent tendencies. It just doesn't work like that. And that's okay. I think that's a good thing, that it's, we're constantly growing. I think, like we had talked about, I think just awareness, like, become aware, start to sort of wake up, during the day. Like, catch yourself doing it. Are you doing it? What are these relationships that are codependent in your life? So awareness is definitely the first one. Acceptance is the next one, kind of talking about that too. Accept that, well, we're here, we got here based on choices that we've made, and kind of accept whether you want to keep that relationship in your life or not, and that's where that setting of boundaries comes in. Are there boundaries that you need to set? Are they simple boundaries, like I don't take phone calls from this person while I'm at work, or if my boss comes into the room, I'll take a deep breath and I will say, okay, give me a minute to think about that. Or what are some of those boundaries that we could put in place with some of those people? It doesn't have to be a complete cutoff from that person. A lot of times it can't be. But in some cases it needs to be too. So I think just accepting where you're at and what you need to do, and then actually putting those boundaries in place and practicing some of those things for yourself. And I think one of the greatest gifts you could give yourself is to get to know yourself, like spend some time with you. That's what I think meditation and journaling is all about. And even exercising, getting a good workout in, spending that time with yourself and being okay with it, not feeling guilty, not feeling pressure, not feeling like, oh, I can't spend this time on myself because I'm not doing for somebody else in this moment. Like getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, spending that time with yourself.
I love that you said getting comfortable being uncomfortable, because I know if we are in a struggle of people pleasing, boundaries can be very tough to implement. And you mentioned a few boundaries that people can start to apply. But if one is already struggling with people pleasing and then with boundaries, you're going to get some pushback, especially if it's a toxic relationship. You're going to get some pushback when you start to implement those boundaries. So how can one overcome the need to make everyone happy and that urge to people please and really effectively implement boundaries?
Gotcha. Well, I will say you can't do it alone. And, there's two answers there. The first one is my higher power, a power greater than me. Because I'm not capable of, clearly, I have 30 plus years of evidence that I was incapable of doing those things myself, right? Without turning that over and surrendering to a higher power. So I would say, don't go it alone. Find whatever that power is for you. And sort of the second part of that is, find other people. Find other people who have successfully achieved some boundaries in their life. And maybe that's a 12-step recovery program somewhere. Maybe that's a friend that you see, wow, that person did a really great job managing that situation. Maybe I can ask, let's go to coffee and just see if they can help me with this. And having those people to pick up the phone and call when you're feeling triggered, when you're feeling like, I don't know, I feel like these boundaries are getting blurred again. Being able to go to those resources for yourself and constantly practicing it. It's not, like I said, not something that you just do for 30 minutes and you're done. It's really a constant choice that you're making throughout the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so good. So good. So you also mentioned being in a recovering perfectionist. How did your codependency, people pleasing, all of those things play into your need to be perfect?
Well, I think a lot of it was my family dynamic, in that, if I could show up sort of as the perfect child, that, I wouldn't stress my parents out more than they already were. I wouldn't make the situation worse. It was always about trying to put out the fires, trying to make everybody happy. And I think, I took that as, I have to be perfect. I have to get straight A's. I have to get, this college degree. I have to get this job. I have to have this certain income to, I have to check these boxes, right? That's what it turned into for myself. But then, it's sort of one step beyond that becomes even more paralyzing. It's like, it affects my ability to make decisions even because, well, is this the perfect decision? Am I doing this absolutely perfectly? It's sort of like paralyzing, like analysis paralysis, right? A lot of times is that perfectionism showing up. And I've had to really work on that, Lindsey, in being an entrepreneur, being a business owner. And that was, something I would have never taken on previous to getting the help that I've gotten and doing the work that I've been doing internally, because that's all entrepreneurship is constantly making decisions. And if you're so paralyzed by, is this right? Is this perfect? You're never going to go anywhere or really accomplish anything. So, when we talk about leadership, I think to be an effective leader, you have to be able to make decisions, and you have to be okay and accept that sometimes those decisions are going to turn out really great and sometimes they won't. And that's okay, and that's where that higher power is there to catch you, when you make those decisions and they're not perfect.
Yes, that is so true because, sometimes from the outside looking in, people can, start to really admire leaders and think, oh, they have a perfect life. Everything just lines up for them. Like they're not fearful of anything, but it's like, no, we just show up in spite of the fear. Like we've made tons of mistakes. That's how we've been able to grow because we failed so much. But the thing is, we don't stop. Like we learn, we adjust, and we keep going. But it hurts us just as much as it hurts anyone else. Something that I do want to point out is that you mentioned that your strive for perfectionism came out of wanting to decrease the stress upon your parents and, be the one that causes little trouble. And so I also struggled with perfectionism, still struggle with ongoing journey, right?
Yes.
And so for me, it rooted more from having an absent father growing up. Like I knew who he was, I'd see him sometime, but for the most part, I was raised by my mother in a single parent home. And so obviously I didn't understand that then, but it became, if I'm perfect, then I must be good enough for him, right? And so I would strive to be this perfect child that did all the things, people pleasing, because if this person likes me, then I must be good enough for my father. And again, I'm not directly telling myself this because I'm a child. I don't understand this, but
Right.
it's those inner limiting beliefs that are attracting my behaviors. And so that's how my perfectionism stemmed. It was that strive for approval from my absent father. And then it's interesting to see how it differs from how yours came. And so I think that's very important for everyone to realize that we're all struggling with some of the same things. It just comes into our life in different ways. And just because your trauma looks different from my trauma doesn't minimize the trauma that you've been through. And so I think that's a very important step in healing and growing and being able to identify quicker when it's popping up in your life so you can course correct, is identifying the root. Where does this stem from and how do you begin to heal it?
Absolutely. And you hit it. Just that, again, going back and being aware. It's not blaming the past. It's not, putting, a label on it necessarily, good or bad, because, I'm the person I am today because of what I went through, and you are too. And look at you now. You have this podcast and a business, and you're inspiring people and, impacting the world in a really great way. Like, maybe that wouldn't be the Lindsey that was here, if you hadn't gone through that series of growth. So yeah, I love that. And the other thing that you were saying that I talk about a lot, especially in my coaching, is that identifying of those beliefs, and not even so much like getting to the heart of, well, where did they come from and who put them there? But it's more just like, what is it, and how can we start to kind of reprogram out of that belief? For me, I think it was a lot of self-worth issues because, as perfect as I tried to be, I just was sort of always the kid that, because I was doing well in school, because I was, seemingly perfect, I didn't get a lot of attention, and I think it was like, well, why am I not getting this attention? Am I not worthy of this attention? Am I not worthy of, the financial investment that my parents are giving to another sibling? Am I not worthy of the, love and affection and, just all those things? And I think, that was really where it all stemmed from for me. So like, that is the affirmation I write in my journal every day. I say it out loud every day, and it's still just, I think, like I said, for 30 some years was so programmed for me that I was unworthy, that it's going to take time, to reprogram that for me. And some days are easier than others, but, grace, give yourself grace and time to work those things out. They don't just kind of snap into place overnight.
Looking for amazing products to help boost your first-class lifestyle? Then head over to firstclasslifeshop.com, where you can treat yourself to personal development books and workbooks, lifestyle affirmation cards, adult coloring books, mugs, notebooks, hoodies, t-shirts, leggings, and more. All products were designed to help you master your mindset, walk in your purpose, and live your first-class life, because you deserve it. So treat yourself today at firstclasslifeshop.com. Again, that's firstclasslifeshop.com. That is so true. And you mentioned one of my favorite words, affirmations. Let's go there for a moment, because I am a very firm believer of being mindful of the things that we are speaking over our lives, because we are literally creating our reality. Our thoughts shape our words, and then our words shapes our actions, which shape the environment that we find ourselves in. So even when it comes down to jokingly saying things, it's like, oh, I know you're joking, but you better watch what you say, because 5 years from now, you might find yourself in that same exact spot, even though you're joking, especially if it's something that you joke about often. Like, oh, be mindful of that. So what advice? Because I mean, my first class family, they hear from me all the time. So, but I want to know, like, your take on affirmations. How do you come up with them? What are effective ways to create them? What are some of your favorites? Just give us all the things.
Oh, I love it. I love when somebody else talks and loves affirmations as much as I do. And, for a long time, I thought they were like airy fairy, like, I don't need these, this is like some new age BS, because, growing up, I was very religious, I was very traditional in sort of my relationship with God. And, for better or worse, that wasn't really helpful, I mean, I'm very grateful for sort of that upbringing and that background and getting to know God in that specific way. But, it was very like transactional for me, like if I just say the right things to God, he'll provide this or that. And if he doesn't, then I must have not said the right thing or done the right thing or been perfect enough, in that situation. So, again, embracing affirmations was really like, okay, well, let's try this. So, what I really learned is that you have to think about, like, what's the behavior you want to create? And, what's the belief that you're moving away from? And then the one you want to move towards. So a lot of times it's like the opposite, sort of, if you can identify, like we're talking about, if you can identify, what that belief is, then it's easier to create the opposite of it. So, for me, I was feeling really unworthy my whole life, and so I am worthy, I am worthy of love. I'm worthy of financial security. I am worthy of attention. That's probably why I'm a performer now, because I love being on stage and people, see me do the things I do. But yeah, if you can identify what it is, sometimes it's easier to just say, okay, well, what's the opposite of that? And what am I trying to create? And, a lot of times, like with the health and wellness, it's a discipline is a big one. People think they don't maybe know that they're telling themselves they're not disciplined, but that is exactly what they're doing when they say, oh, I tried, but exercise is really hard for me. Or I've tried, but when the holidays come around, I just lose control. Or, I try, but I just can't seem to get to bed on time. Or I try, but right, fill in the blank. And really what that is that belief is coming up of like, I'm not disciplined enough. I don't value myself enough. Again, I'm not worthy enough of this thing that I want. So, a lot of times they'll say, let's start with, I am disciplined, right? And it was so funny. One of my good friends, she's working on a cruise ship right now, but she had messaged me in the journal that I put out, like every day has an affirmation. So for 7 days, it's the same affirmation. And the one this week is, I am disciplined. She sent me this little video and she's like, for the first 2 days, I was thinking this just felt really wrong. It does. It feels wrong, like in your body when you say it out loud and you're like, I am disciplined. You're like, what? No, that's crazy. Of course I'm not, right? and then your brain starts to think of all the ways you're not. But then something magical happens, and I'm sure you understand this, but you start to say it again, and then you say it again. And your brain wants to find evidence that you are saying something truthful, right? Just like it did when you were saying over and over and over again to yourself that you weren't disciplined, that you couldn't follow a plan, that you had no control over any of your food or any of those things, right? It's going to show you evidence that that's true. So when you start to say, I'm disciplined, and then there comes a moment in your day where you're like, oh my gosh, what? I can't believe I decided to do that. Or I can't believe I made that choice. And you go, maybe I am disciplined. And it doesn't have to be that crazy conversation of you talking to yourself in your car, but it's that little thing that starts to happen in your brain. And then it just starts to find more and more evidence. And then that evidence starts to build up. And then you start to go, oh, well, maybe this is true about myself. So now it's easier for you to be like, I go to the gym because I'm disciplined. Like, what? That's not even that. You're a different person now, right? That is a totally different person. They're thinking different. They're acting different. And those affirmations are getting affirmed by your actions and now becoming your new beliefs.
Yes, that is so true. And I love that you took us through that whole journey of not really believing them, especially with, the religious roots and the religious kind of myth around it. Because, sometimes whenever we talk about affirmations, it is easy for people that have a very strict religious background to be like, oh, no, that is woo-woo magic, witchcraft type of thing. But the Bible actually says, be mindful of your words because the power of the tongue can speak life or death. That is the same thing. The Bible is telling you the things that you say out of your mouth will come true, whether negative or positive, life or death. And so we have to be mindful of that because I believe in the Lord as well. And so it's all around us. It's in the spiritual world. It's in science. They've done books about how the power of our words and beliefs and, done studies, can shape our realities. And it's so true, just like with your discipline example. And so I think that's very important to note that we have to be mindful of the things that we're saying, and we might not believe it at first, and that's okay. The important thing is that we keep saying it because our brains doesn't know the difference between real or fake until we tell it. And so if you're constantly telling your brain something, it's going to pull that evidence to prove whatever you're saying is right. And the more you say something, the more your brain will start to believe it, whether it's false or true. And so we have to make sure that we're constantly feeding our brain with the life that we want to create for ourselves, because our brain will do what our brain does and start to pull the evidence to prove what you're thinking and saying to be true. Girl, thank you.
Absolutely. Yes. I love it.
So I think that this would be a great time. Let me find my phone to play a little game. Are you down?
Ooh, all right. I love it.
Okay. I got to pull up my, can't tell you what yet, but so this game is called First Class Favorites, okay?
All right.
And how it works is very, very easy. I'm going to say, what is your favorite? Fill in the blank, and you're going to fill in the blank. Got it?
Okay.
Easy, but you got to do it in 10 seconds or less.
Oh, no.
So I've got my handy dandy buzzer here. And if you miss the buzzer, you have to come up with some type of consequence for everyone to do.
Oh.
But don't feel bad, because it's all a matter of perspective, okay? So what might be a negative consequence for me might be a positive consequence for you. So it's
Okay.
you see?
I like that. Yeah.
Like if you said you have to do 10 push-ups, I'm going to be like, girl, really? But somebody that loves to work out is going to be like, oh, that's nothing, right? Okay. So we'll start with something really easy. What is your favorite color and why? Go.
Green. I love to wear green. My eyes are green, and I feel like it draws the color of my eyes out.
That's it. You had 6 seconds to spare.
Oh.
Yes.
I know I'm wearing blue today, but
listen, we're not going to hold you. It's okay. We like all the colors, right? Just green has a favoritism. And I don't know. So like every time I hear green or see green, I just keep thinking money green, because I'm on this abundance path right now. And so like even yesterday when choosing my nail color, I was like, ooh, should I do money green? And then when you said green, I instantly thought money green. Okay, so next one. What is your favorite food specifically? Go.
Whew. I already lost. Chickpeas, actually.
Oh,
Did I just make it?
barely made it. You barely made it. You like it literally. You said chickpeas, and then the buzzer went off. Okay, chickpeas. Yeah, see, that's why it's important to create your own life, because I'll eat them, but I'm not like a big fan.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm a really big proponent of fiber. So chickpeas have like the fiber component. They do have protein. They fill you up. They're very versatile. Like they can go in anything. Like honestly, I feel I do feel like if I didn't choose, if I didn't eat them at least, on a couple of days a week, I would be sad. So
See, this is why we have to live for ourselves. We can't live for other people, or we're gonna be sad. What is your favorite book, title, and author? Go.
Atomic Habits by James Clear.
That was amazing.
Phenomenal. Everybody should read it.
Why is that one your favorite book?
I feel like I quote it a lot. And when I read it, like when you read a book and you just like the whole time you're like shaking your head and you're like, yes, I totally agree. And just, for me, that's what it is. It's creating habits around your mindset practice and your nutrition, your, all those things. And he really breaks it down in a very like digestible way. Like, this is how you actually build a habit. This is why it's important. So I absolutely love it. I recommend it to everyone.
Duly noted. What is your favorite place to travel specifically? Go.
Yes, there is a place in southern Italy called Lecce, and it's in this region called Salento. My husband and I spent actually the whole month of February in Italy last year. And yes, we cannot wait to go back. We really want to raise our family in Italy someday. So yeah, the Italy, hands down, but specifically this like little region on the very eastern coast of the heel of the boot. It's very specific, but it's just like none other on earth.
And it's called Leche?
Lecce is the name of the city.
I hear leche and I think milk in Spanish.
Yes.
Now I have a new association with that word. What is your favorite catchphrase or saying? Go.
Ooh, definitely one day at a time. I think I say that to myself and other people like all the time. And even beyond that, one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 minute at a time, one step at a time, because it really is, sometimes that serious. Going back to the first time I traveled to Italy was in 2019 with my husband, and 2 days before we left, I broke my ankle. And, I remember sitting in urgent care and the lady came back with the x-ray results and she's like, yeah, you broke it. And I'm like, okay, so can you give me a boot? And she's like, well, yeah, I'm going to give you a boot and you can, put weight on it. And I was like, oh, okay. So can I fly in an airplane?
Right.
And she just thought I was crazy. And she's like, I don't think you're going to want to do that. You can, it's safe to do and this and that. And we went and I walked around Italy in a boot. And it was, literally though, Lindsey, I just need to take another step. I just need to take another step. I couldn't worry about how I was going to feel in an hour or the next day. I just had to keep going. And that was like the only way I made it through that. And it was the most incredible experience of my life. And I still look back on that and I'm like, I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad I went, I pushed through the fear and the pain and just did it. So.
And that is an important nugget to note because how many people would have just given into that fear and been like, oh, I got to cancel this trip. And, sometimes that's all we can do. We're so busy, anxious about what's to come that's likely not going to happen. And maybe it does, but it's important to live in the moment. You just had to think about the step right now, not how you might feel in an hour or tomorrow, but I have to live in the moment. And because of that, you were able to experience, I'm sure, an amazing experience.
Yes.
That is so true. And even sometimes when we're just trying to overcome obstacles, we can't think about all the things that are falling apart around us. Sometimes you have to apply that same method. Okay, I need to think about the moment to moment to get through and to survive to the next moment. And
absolutely
for that, because that can be tough to do. So listen, First Class family, we are with you, okay? Whether you're going through the highs or going through the lows, we are here in support, okay? So next one, what is your favorite song? Title and artist specifically. Go.
There's a song by the band Hanson called Where's the Love? And it's such an old song, but I don't know, you and I might be roughly the same age. You seem like you might be a little bit younger than me, so I don't know if you know who Hanson is, but they are.
As soon as you said Hanson, I resisted the urge to say,
So Where's the Love was the second song that they put out on that album, single. And I just, when Mbop came out, I was like, yeah, this is fine. But I wasn't sold. And then Where's the Love came out. And I was like, oh, this message, I don't know, just really hit me. I love the song. It because of Hanson, I feel like I have just done so many things in my life, the friendships that I've had, the experiences that I've had, they've inspired me to write my own music. And even as adults, they're just incredible dads and incredible humans. And they're doing all this amazing stuff for their community. and they're just role models to me. And I'm like, I just love this. The song that brought me to them, you know, it just always and forever will be my favorite.
Yes, yes. I know me some Hanson, girl. Okay, last one. What is your favorite relaxing activity? Like, what do you love to do that helps you relax, brings you happiness? Go.
I love to color.
Oh.
I do. Yeah, I love like especially the like mandala coloring books. I have so many coloring books actually in my little. I have this little like cabinet here. It's got like all my colored pencils and my markers, and I just love to put on music or a podcast or a book, you know, on Audible and just color. Like it really calms me down. Just get like you were saying, just gets me in the moment.
Yes, and listen, you may or may not know this, but First Class Life has a coloring book, okay? A shade book. Yes, you can find that at firstclasslifeshop.com.
Okay, I'll be ordering that.
Well, thank you, beautiful Krystal, for playing First Class Favorites. You know, Oprah has her favorite things list, and so do we. All right. If you are a member of our private Patreon community, then you can get access to our First Class Favorite Things list that has our reading list, because reading is knowledge, and has our favorite activities to relax because we're all about prioritizing self-care when we're creating a first class life. Our favorite places to travel because the world is so much bigger than us and we have to explore and enjoy the cultures. And our favorite songs. So if you're not a reader, we got the music for your mood, okay? And it is uniquely curated by all of our phenomenal guests. Yeah.
I love that.
Make sure that you join our private Patreon community by clicking the button right over to the side, because not only do you get access to the First Class Favorite Things list, but you also get bonus resources like bonus videos from our phenomenal guests, bonus resources, and so much more. So join it today. Meanwhile, let's hop back into this discussion. Are you loving the First Class Live show? Then join our private Patreon community. Not only will you help to support our ability to provide you with great content, but you can also get exclusive perks like bonus videos and resources, discounts, episode transcripts, and more. So what are you waiting for? Join today at patreon.com/firstclasslife. Again, that's Patreon, patreon.com/firstclasslife. So, if you are new to the First Class Life show, then let me tell you that First Class Life is not some gimmicky phrase, okay? It is a way of living to be able to create a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. First Class Life is actually an acronym that stands for all of the different characteristics and skills that you want to try to embody into your lifestyle. And listen, I know the perfectionists out there are saying, that sounds like a lot. At no point in time will you be mastering all of them at once. But the point is trying to, make as many of them as possible into a regular part of your lifestyle. So if you want to know what that acronym of First Class Life actually stands for, then there's two different things you can do. One, you can either go listen to the very first episode of the First Class Life show where I explain each of them in detail, or two, you can head to firstclasslifeshop.com and purchase the book. First Class Life, 10 Key Factors to Creating a Life Full of Purpose, Fulfillment, and Happiness. Meanwhile, we would like to ask the beautiful Krystal, which key factor of First Class Life do you feel that you resonate with the most?
This was really, really tough because they're all amazing. And also necessary. But I'm going to go with the last S, the self-discipline. Again, I think that just really sums it up for me. I got to show up for myself, and I have to be disciplined about it because I know how easy it is for me to slip back into codependency, to slip back into perfectionism, and kind of into all those patterns of beliefs and behaviors. So discipline is huge for me, huge for me in my health journey as well. I didn't mention this, but I am pregnant. I'm just entering my third trimester. So it's super crazy. Oh my gosh. So, going back to that again, too, just like, I need my serenity practice. I need to be disciplined about meditating in the morning, writing in my gratitude journal, praying, coloring, singing, doing all the things, exercising, eating right, like all of it. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm perfect every day on all those things, but I make it a point to show up for myself, at least in some way, and give my best effort to do those things for myself. So I love that.
Listen, okay, so out of all the guests we've had on the show, I don't think anyone's been pregnant yet. Of course, we've had parents, but I think you're the first pregnant guest of First Class. So I'm just going to take this moment to say that we have officially adopted our new baby, okay? So,
I love it.
I see your nephew on the way, guys. Mm-hmm. We welcome baby niece or baby nephew with open arms on the First Class Life family. Okay.
Yes, I love that. Thank you.
Again. I love it. I love it. So, real quick, what are some tips? Like if someone is trying to improve their self-discipline or they catch themselves like falling out of their disciplined practices, what are some tips to like really hone that back in or start?
Yeah. Well, I think the affirmation, I am disciplined, that's huge. I think writing it down and seeing it somewhere where you're going to like not miss it every day. So, if it's something that you need to put on your fridge or on your bathroom mirror, or I have a lady that puts it in her like eyeglass case. So when she gets to work and she like takes her glasses out of her case, she sees these affirmations. So wherever that is, put it somewhere you can remind yourself to actually say it. That's important. And I think the second is let go of the expectations around it. Be playful with it. Kind of going back to that. Like, it's okay. Some days you're going to be a rock star at it, and some days you're going to totally fail. And that is fine. That's all part of the process. And just like James Clear talks about in my favorite book, you don't want to put too many activities on the docket for yourself, because you're inevitably going to fail if you're trying to do all the things and carry all the balls and balance all the plates and all those things. So just start somewhere. Start with something simple. What is something that you could do for 5 minutes today, and just build from there. Build some confidence in yourself, right? One of those C's that you have, and you have to just keep going.
Thank you for sharing that. So I would love to ask you, how do you impact the world as a leader today?
Yeah. And that's funny too, because it's like, I think sometimes leaders don't see themselves as leaders, like we're just kind of out here doing our thing. And then someone comes along like you and says like, oh, how are you a leader? You're like, am I?
Yes, the answer is yes. Every single person is.
But I think, I have done a really good job of creating a life that I'm more fulfilled in. And, I think more than anything, that has spoken volumes to people that have seen me in the last 5 years, sort of this transformation of quitting a 9-to-5 job and starting a business and starting a podcast, writing some books, getting into performing and singing, full time and doing some of those things, like actually like going out and achieving the things I said I always wanted to do. I think more than anything, it's not something I say, it's not something it's just the action of just showing up, I think, every day that really lends itself to my leadership. I think people go like, wow, you really do a lot, or oh my gosh, I was like, that's so cool that you do this or that. And I think just showing people that there's possibilities. And I'm not perfect at any of those things. I would never say that I am. I always say jack of all trades, master of none, really, because sometimes that's even a downfall. It's too many things. But yeah, I think just setting that example of, hey, my life was not how I wanted it to be. And it's maybe not perfect. No, it's not exactly where I want it to be now, but it's a lot closer. And I'm a lot closer to the person I'm becoming than I am from the person I was. And that's all that really matters.
Progress over perfection. I love it. I love
Yes.
it. Yes. So tell us, like, what do you have for us? Do you have something good? Because I know you do. Tell us a little bit more about that, where we can find it.
Yes, I love that. So I just put out a book for 2023. It's called the Alive Journal 2023. And it's like a guided journal. So it goes through every day of the year, 365 days. It's a pretty hefty book, but you're not going to lose it or shove it underneath your couch anywhere. It's not going to get lost on your bookshelf. I promise you that. Um, but it's got those affirmations for you every day to repeat. It's got a place to track, some of the behaviors and things you're doing. It's got a place for gratitude. It's got a place to celebrate wins and to, get a general focus for your day. So I really recommend that if someone is new to journaling, is new to gratitude, just wants to feel maybe not alone, like you're staring at a blank piece of paper. What the heck do I write here? That was me, when I started. So I think it's a great way to introduce somebody to that life. So you can find that by going to aliveit2023.com. And also there, while you're there checking out the book, I recommend clicking on that schedule a call with me. I'm offering a totally free, no strings attached, 30-minute, I call it a dream strategy session with me, because sometimes, the people closest to us, we're not really comfortable sharing those dreams or what we want with people. We're afraid they're going to laugh. We're afraid they're going to poo-poo us or say that's not possible. And so I want to be there to hold that container for people and say, well, what is it? Let's put those things in this container. Let me hold this for you. Let me show you what's possible. And yeah, maybe all these things aren't possible in the next 30 days, but 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, what is this life that you really want to create for yourself? So I love to be able to, like I said, just kind of sit and have these conversations with people. It's really, really important.
Nice. We will have that link ready for you right in the show notes. So all you got to do is click it. Now, I know you just shared one place to schedule the strategy and get the journal, but how can everyone reach you on these internet streets?
Yes. So I am on Instagram. If you look for Krystal Quagliara on Instagram, or Crystallized Health Advisors, I think is another way to find me on Instagram. I've battled with using my last name. It's my married last name, and I just copy and paste it from this episode. I also have a YouTube channel. It's Crystallized Health Advisors, Krystal with K, of course, and I have episodes of my podcast. I have workout videos there. I have, short little inspiration, coaching, all that kind of stuff there. So definitely go check that out as well.
Awesome. You guys make sure that you connect with Krystal Quagliara, okay? Make sure you connect with her and get the journal and do all the things. And make sure, again, you subscribe, comment, like, share, love, do all the things, because, again, sharing is caring. And if you enjoyed this episode, who knows who else could enjoy it, but they have no clue about it. So share your insights, share your gems, tag us, because we love celebrating with you and the things that you learn, and share with a friend, all right? We all are in this together. And also, I know that you could be doing anything in the world right now, but you have spent the past hour here with us, and we are forever grateful, because I know your time is important. And you are out there maximizing your impact as a leader and creating your first-class life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. And don't forget that you deserve every single last bit of it. Until next time, see you later. Bye. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. But please be sure to subscribe to the First Class Life Show. And don't forget to rate, leave a review, and join our private community so that we can continue to provide you with great personal development conversations to help you maximize your impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. You deserve it.